everyone. I welcome you to the interaction on supply chain innovation in India. Today we are diving a deep into fascinating world of supply chain management with a specific focus on unique challenges and innovation merging from India. I am very happy to have a Professor Jitesh J. Thakkar with us for interaction on supply chain innovation in India. Professor Jitesh J. Thakkar in Dean Academics and Professor Logistics Supply Chain Management at Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, which is a part of Central University, Baroda. Dr. Thakkar was a faculty at IIT Kharagpur and has a professional experience of more than 25 years. He is a faculty expert at leading institute of IITs, IM, NITs and other. Dr. Thakkar is a listed of world ranking of top 2% of Stanford University. Now, moving further, supply chains are very complex due to global reach, involving numerous geographical dispersed stakeholders, diverse product, unpredictability of demand, and wide regulation add layer of integrity. Integrating of disparate technology and managing the vast data across the partner poses significant challenges. Finally, a constant threat from natural disaster, geopolitical events, and supply failures in fact a high level of risk and uncertainty. All these factors are combined to create a high dynamic and integrate networks. I wish to begin with the first question. How are the India companies involved to overcome the unique last mile delivery challenge, especially in diverse geography and infrastructure landscape?
Thank you, Dr. Archana. It's a very interesting question and extremely critical when we think about the vast geography, the diverse culture prevailing in the country like India, and also the infrastructural quality. Diversity is extensively differing across various regions. So when we think about the traditional hub and spoke model, then in many cases it will fall short. So Indian companies are innovating with various kinds of solutions to see that they can really enhance the competitiveness of their supply chain. And typically, rightly you asked that how they are improving the last mile delivery. So if you look at a couple of examples, then first is the hyper local delivery networks we all are experiencing in our day-to-day life, like Swiggy, Instamart, Blinkit, and typically these companies have innovated their supply chain by building incredibly dense hyper-local delivery network. They leverage a large fleet of gig workers, often on two-wheelers. They own the two-wheelers who can navigate the congested areas and cater the last mile delivery services within a particular region. So, as we know, gig workers are individuals who engage in temporary, on demand, freelance kind of work. And typically, this is a good workforce available which supports the last mile delivery of Swiggy, Instamart, Blinkit in India. Now, there are innovations at the technology level. So these companies, they have built a very good platform using artificial intelligence for route optimization, real-time tracking, which is the key in the last mile delivery. At one side, you have to serve the order within the given time. On the other side, you have to manage the traffic, and also you have to look at the inventory availability. So your AI-based platform really plays a very, very critical and enabling role. So they've essentially brought the warehouses to neighborhood, drastically reduced the delivery times for groceries and essentials. If we look at the tier 2 and 3 cities, their rural focus typically, then e-commerce giants like Flipkart, Amazon India are investing heavily to expand their operations from the metros to the rural area and cater the unique needs of this large rural customer base typically in the country like India. So they are establishing smaller fulfillment centers and engaging with the local entrepreneurs, kirana stores, small neighboring shops, we call it. And typically they act as pick up and drop off points and even mini warehouses. This not only improves but also creates the local employment and economic growth for the region. The third important dimension is crowdsourcing and hybrid models. Some of the companies they are experimenting with crowd source delivery where ordinary individuals can deliver parcels while commuting. While nascent, this could be a game changer and highly cost efficiency, not adding burden to the existing traffic. So many companies they are using these hybrid models, combining traditional logistics with the local partnership for the final lane. And I think this innovations lies in adapting the global best practices to local realities, focusing on agility, community engagements, and leveraging the human capital available.
As we know, sir, India was innovative in supply chain to overcome the unique challenges like fragmenting infrastructure, diverse geographic, and regulating the complexity. This will boost our economic by reducing the logistic cost and improving a market access. Innovation is enhancing the resiliency against the disruptions, supportive initiative like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Ultimately, it's very crucial for India to strengthen this position of global manufacturing and consumption hub. But in this view of this, let us proceed to the second question. From far to fork, how are the Indian agriculture supply chain traditionally fragmenting and insufficient being a transformed by the technology and collaborative model?
Absolutely. This is a very, very critical dimensions. And our economy has a very big boost from the agriculture sector. We cannot deny the fact that about 30 to 40% of the agriculture produce, when we talk about farm to fork, is getting wasted, maybe because of inadequate cold infrastructure or the lacuna at the stage of the storages or managing the procurements. So agriculture sector is the backbone of India. It has a huge impact on our GDP, but its supply chain, when there are many initiatives are in place and we are improving, but still it is fragmented and there are certain inefficiencies which leads to price volatility at the end of the farmers. And now we are seeing some of the significant and remarkable transformation in agriculture supply chain in India. Let us see a couple of examples to understand this part and see what kind of supply chain innovations are taking place even in the agriculture supply chain. So, agri-tech platforms and direct sourcing is one of the initiatives. Companies like NinjaCart are revolutionizing this by building tech-enabled platforms. And what these tech-enabled platforms they provide, they directly connect farmers to the retailers and businesses. So when we talk about supply chain, we talk about the seamless flow of inventory, information, finances, and ownership. These are four most important flows, and something where the company like NinjaCard, they are playing a very critical role. So they provide farmers with better price realization by cutting the multiple immediate intermediaries. Their model involves aggregating produce at collection centers using data analytics for demand forecasting, optimizing logistics to reduce wastage, and in totality, this reduces transit time and improves the freshness of the produce. Let us look at another important area which I mentioned right at the beginning of this discussion, that is cold chain infrastructure and use of IoT. So here also we are trying to improve the competitiveness of our supply chain in India. Yes, there are challenges, but there is a growing investment in the infrastructure of cold chain. Startups are deploying IoT sensors so you can have the real time information about your cargo and its movement, storage, transportation, all they are now equipped with the sensors, and you can fetch a lot of data to perform your data analytics for the logistics and see that your inventory during the transit don't get spoiled. So to monitor the temperature, humidity, ensure quality of the perishable goods, all this is now very much possible with the use of sensors and IoT technology within the supply chain. The third important dimension is farmer producer organizations. We call it as FPOs and collective bargaining. So there is a renewed focus on empowering FPOs, which enable small and marginal farmers, many times they are at the disadvantage, to collectively market their produce, access their inputs, and negotiate directly with the buyers. So this aggregation helps streamline the supply chain at the source and brings economies of scale, which at one side reduces the price, prevents the perishability of my products, food produce, and benefits the farmers at the other end. So in totality, the shift is towards creating more transparent, efficient, and farmer-centric supply chain by leveraging the technology, bridging the information gaps, and reducing the losses.
Thank you, sir, for exchanging the views on critical dimension of supply chain. We may take the discussion forward as we understood a supply chain is a resilience for Indian industries means a building robotics, agile networking that withstand disruptions like geotech tensions, natural disaster, involving the diversified sourcing, localizing manufacturing where feasible, and strategy utilization of technology like AI for predictive analytics. Utility, it's ensure the continuity of operation, minimizing the economic impact, and strengthen the Indian global track position. Let us proceed a last question. I have a very curious to know about how a Indian business adapt their supply chain to be more resilient in the face of increasing the global disruptions and local existence like natural disaster.
It's a very good and interesting question. To conclude our discussion, how are Indian businesses adapting their supply chains to be more resilient in the face of increasing global disruptions and local exigencies like natural disaster? I appreciate your question. So, if you look at the past few years, which have highlighted the critical needs of supply chain resilience, across the globe, we can see that small or long wars are happening, earthquake, natural disasters, various kind of calamities are also witnessed. And under this kind of condition, supply chain resilience has really become very critical and important issue. So pandemic also we have witnessed COVID-19, and under all these conditions we realized that we are living in the VUCA world and supply chain resilience really matters. So let us look at this particular part from couple of dimensions. Number one is diversification of sourcing and manufacturing. So what companies are doing across the globe and also in India, they are moving away from over-reliance on single region or country for raw material and components. The China plus one strategy is gaining traction, with India emerging as strong alternative as the manufacturing hub. We can see this is very much happening under the Atmanirbhar Bharat for electronics industry, automotive component industry, and even in the defense sector. You see this time that our defense export has increased almost by 5 to 6 times. The technological intervention, if we see when we talk about the resilience and improving the supply chain robustness, then the technology like digital twins and predictive analytics are helping a lot. At one side, I try to minimize the disruptions or manage the vulnerability when it happens. But here I have the option to operate with the digital twin and simulate the scenario and possible disruptions and find out the alternate ways of managing my supply chain. So advanced analytics and concept of digital twins, virtual replicas of the physical supply chain, we may call it, are being explored to model the disruption scenarios, predict potential bottlenecks, and I can plan for the exigency or the contingency plan can be devised in advance. The second important dimension is regionalization and localization. So instead of highly centralized production, there is a trend towards regionalizing manufacturing and distribution to reduce the lead times and exposure to the large scale disruptions. So we may look at the pharmaceutical companies, they are looking at increasing domestic production of active pharmaceutical ingredients. We call it as APIs to reduce the dependency on the imports. And third important dimension is buffer stock management. We call it as a safety stock and strategic stockpiling. So at one side, when we are concerned about the lean manufacturing principle, reducing the inventories, using the just-in-time approaches, on the other end, maintaining slightly higher buffer stock provides you the advantage of aggregation. And typically for the critical components, some of the MRO items, typically in the aviation sector, it is highly critical where the turnaround time or the overhauling time of the airplanes are significant. So you can maintain some buffer stock for the critical components, finished goods to mitigate short-term shocks. So this is the crucial adaptation, especially for essential goods. And this is something where we are trying to see that how we can build anti-fragility within the supply chain. Those that not only withstand disruption, but actually get stronger from them, learning and adapting to unforeseen circumstances. So I hope this discussion addressing three broader questions and also seeing the initiatives, innovations adopted by India would really benefit the industry professionals, students in the domain of transportation, supply chain, and logistics sector to appreciate the improving competitiveness through technological interventions and innovations in India. Thank you very much for this interaction, Dr. Archana, for your interest in understanding this topic and your curiosity to explore some of the critical issues in the domain of supply chain management.
Thank you, sir.